All right, so let me make sure that the camera is actually running. That we got picture. All right, so here we are with another NECA Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles unboxing. Eastman and Laird's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because this is from the black and white comic book from the Return to New York storyline, which I just read again the other day, wanting to refamiliarize myself with it, and it is just awesome. The Ninja Turtles, after being defeated by Shredder and fleeing New York City for I think in the comic book it's Casey Jones's farm that's upstate. Finally, Raphael, of course, it's Raphael. He's had enough, and he's ready to go back to New York with or without his brothers. So the boys return to their hometown, and finally ready to take it back from the Foot and the resurrected Shredder. And the Shredder has been resurrected through a pretty bizarre means. And this was stuff that was based off of apparently stuff Peter Laird had read about in a magazine. Is that worms, like Omni or Scientific American or something, I forget what magazine, but apparently worms can take on properties of things that they eat, and have physical memories and things like that they can get from things that they eat. So the Foot Clan gathered up what was left of the Shredder and fed it to some worms, and managed to make like a worm clone of Shredder. So that's why this guy has such an odd texture to his skin, and you can see it in the drawing too, because he's not actually a human. He's made up of like millions of tiny little worms. Ew, gross. And then we have a more traditional Shredder here. And of course, when in the comic book, if you've seen the movie, you remember where Raphael is attacked by the Foot Clan. They all gang up on him and throw him through the window and wind up burning down April's secondhand shop that she got from her father. And Casey shows up and helps them escape, and that's when they wind up going to the farm up north. Well, in the comic book, it wasn't Raphael; it was Leonardo that was ganged up on by the Foot, and so it's a little bit different. I'm not sure why they made the change. Probably because they were already kind of using Raphael as kind of like the focal point for the Ninja Turtles. Which, being a guy who like Raphael is my favorite of the Ninja Turtles, I definitely appreciated that. But Leonardo and the Shredder have their rematch, and before the fight, Shredder strips off his armor and rips off his gi, and he and Leonardo battle with katanas, and Leonardo this time Leonardo is the victor, and there's that great double page spread, beautiful artwork with Leonardo leaping through the air past the Shredder as he decapitates him. And oh man, is that just such a great moment. It's like if you want to read a comic book that'll have you cheering, it's that moment. But we got some nice artwork on here, which I believe this artwork is by Kevin Eastman and or Peter Laird. It should probably say on here. Yep, Kevin Eastman. Sure enough. It says director Randy Falk, Trevor Zammit, sculpt and design Gurjeet Singh, paint Jeff Trapp and Mike Puzo, prototypes Roger Fernandez, photography Stephen Mazurek, packaging Travis Hasback, and illustration Kevin Eastman. Now, I forget the name of the artist who actually drew the Return to New York issues. I think it was Jim Parsons. Was that his name? But I think Eastman and Laird did the layouts and they wrote the story. But it's nice to see Kevin Eastman doing some artwork on the packaging. So this looks a little more like the old school Shredder, like what he looked like in that first issue there. We can see him over here. You can see the way his helmet is drawn and everything. But the figure itself is based on the Return to New York storyline. So he looks a little different from that. and looks like it's got a lot of cool accessories in here. Guess what? The Shredder comes with a spear again. This is like going to be like the third and fourth, respectively, Shredder figures that I opened. But yeah, he again comes with a spear. No shock there. I've been really excited about this set for a while. Really wanted to open it up for a while, but just haven't had a chance to yet for various reasons. And I was going to open it a lot earlier, but like I said, I wanted to go back and reread the comic again. And we see some cross-cell artwork down here that has some other figures in the line. Leatherhead, some of the boys in various outfits. April O'Neil, who definitely is an African-American in that picture. I know there's a lot of controversy as to whether or not April is or was ever black in the comic book, and you see people arguing about it. And personally, my opinion is I don't care. I it might be a controversial opinion, but I think that that whether or not you agree with it, you gotta admit that, you know, if people look at this character as she's drawn in the comics at that time and see her as being black, you know, I can see why they would think that. You know, I don't really care one way or the other. I just think April O'Neil should be, like, you know, hot, honestly. There's hot black girls, there's hot white girls, hot Latina girls, hot Asian girls. She can be whatever. I don't care. She should probably be a redhead, though. And that's not to say that she has to be white. You know, there's lots of different ethnicities. Basically, any kind of ethnicity of girls can have red hair. Even if it's not natural, they can dye their hair red. It's fine. But, like, you know, still. So yeah, let's get a look at some of the photography on the back, because it's some nice stuff. They even got a pic of Shredder fighting Leonardo, Shredder with the two katanas, Shredder with some of the other foot soldiers and some of the cloned Shredders. They had some prototypes like before him. I think these are just foot soldiers, though. I want to say, I can't really see on the screen. Yeah, that's Karai in her Shredder outfit. So they got like a few of them together, and a nice shot of the Shredder just, you know, doing like a kata or something. Very cool. And for the artwork on the inside, because, you know, I always like to look at that with these Neca figures, we've got the boys burning the Shredder's body. Yeah, like giving him a Viking funeral. Kind of in an odd way, showing respect to their greatest nemesis. But also, you know, just making sure that he's done and we're not going to see this guy again. Of course, he does come back again because a shark winds up eating his severed head and absorbing the worms. And then you have a Shredder shark. So they did a lot of weird stuff in that comic book. But you can see they got the helmet on a pike or a sword or something like that. Really cool piece of artwork. So you have the Statue of Liberty in there, and New York City skyline in the background. Really nice. I really like that artwork. So that was definitely worth. You know, a lot of the times on the NECA figures, I don't take it out because you can see it just fine through the open packaging. But in this case, I definitely wanted to show it off. So, and I believe that that's the actual art from the comic too. So, first of all, I'm going to get the tiniest accessory out of this. And I don't even know if you're going to be able to get a good look at it, but it's a worm. Makes sense. One of the titular worms of madness that they were talking about there. And then we got, of course, rubber tabs holding these figures in. I think I'll get shirtless Shredder out of here first. There's no real reason for that. It's just a random choice. Just had to pick one. And we can see what I was talking about with the when I was opening up the Ninja Turtles Adventures version of the Shredder, is that he still does have some of that line artwork, some of that cell shading, and this is actually even sculpted in some of these. I'm not sure if they're supposed to be like actual cuts and scratches on the armor or just shading, but it could work either way. And you can see, like I said, he's got that weird sort of texture to his skin, and Saki's eyes are just pure white, like he's an undead creature, and lots of extra hands and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, this is he's a little bit more of a basic figure, obviously, because he doesn't have as much armor. But I don't think that there's that many reused pieces. Probably the legs, but we will compare later. I'm pretty sure that the arms are different because the more standard Shredder does not have this worm texture on his arms. So we're gonna set Saki aside for the nonce, and we're gonna move on to some of these other accessories and the other figure in the set. But yeah, I think that the from the waist down, these are probably the same figure, and I'm kind of surprised they didn't do what they did with the Peter Cushing Van Helsing figure, which I do have on the way. That is going to be a figure that I'm going to be opening up sometime in the near future, and but that one has two top halves of the figure, and then the legs. So you just swap out the top half for whichever outfit you want to be on those legs. And I'm kind of surprised they didn't do it with this one. But maybe they figured, like, you know, this Shredder figure is so cool that we could probably sell a 2-pack of them and get a little bit of extra scratch. You know, personally, I'd like to get 2 of those Van Helsing figures anyway, so that way I can use put some longer sideburns on one of the Van Helsing heads, and that can be Baron Frankenstein. So, so we got 2 gripping hands here, which makes sense because he's gonna have those 2 katanas, and they also have that worm texture on them, nice and disgusting. And then you saw on the photography on the back, we got 2 of these karate chop looking hands. So set those aside, and then 2 of these kind of like what I like to call the gesturing hands, you know, the ones that are kind of like wringing his hands as he's giving some kind of villainous speech. And then we got 2 katanas. There we go. And again, those do have some of that cell shading, you know, kind of line work painted onto them. And it's 2 silver katanas with gray wraps around the hilts and a silver pommel. So it looks really cool. I'm going to set those aside for now. And that's all the accessories that I think are supposed to be bespoke to Saki. And that's not to say that you couldn't, you know, give the katanas, like let Shredder hold the katanas, or let Saki hold the spear. But I'm pretty sure the spear is supposed to go with Shredder, and the katanas are supposed to go with Saki, because, like I said, that's what he uses in the story, the actual comic book story. So there we got the Shredder's bladed hands, and those are kind of gesturing hands. And the Shredder's hands on the actual figure are fist hands. You'll see those when I take the figure out. And then we've got... That explains why that wasn't coming out so easily. They got rubber tabs around some of these, you know, the little blisters that hold stuff into the main blister. And that's probably why I was having a hard time getting that off. I didn't realize it was on there. But there's the Shredder's spear. And you can see that the spearhead is silver. Got some of that cell shading line work on there. Gray. They're probably considering this a bow staff, but like I said, if it's got a pointy thing on the end of it, I'm considering it a spear. I don't care. And a little piece of fabric tied around the end. Nice little detail there. And then the rest of the Shredder's hands, I guess both Saki and the Shredder basically come with like the same hands, but just in, you know, their own styles. So here's the Shredder's hands that are the gripping hands. So if you didn't want to have them holding the spear or the swords, you know, you got the gripping hands. And then last but not least, you got the karate chopping hands. And there's those. And all of the Shredder's hands have the Shredder blades on there. So there's no bare hands for the Shredder. like there was with the Ninja Turtles Adventure version. I suppose if you wanted to, you could put the hands of whichever figure on whichever figure you want to, but since Shredder is apparently supposed to be like I think representing when he was still human, uh, he's just got regular humanoid flesh color, whereas he's got kind of like a little bit more of a tan sort of color, not like quite like a human sort of tan, but just slightly off. I'm sure some human being has that shade of tan skin, and I don't mean to offend you if you do, but it looks almost kind of like more like parchment or something like that. I think they were going for more of a zombified look for Saki. So let's see if we can get the rubber tabs are going to be kind of tricky on this one because of the Shredder's samurai like helmet. So the rubber tabs are not, but I was able to get them from the back, so that's fine. So now the Shredder should come out of here fairly easily. Oh, wait, I'm missing the one around the forearm. Around his left forearm. Make sure I got that. All right. And here is old Shredhead out of the package. And he's got, again, like the other one, he's got the armor plates here are attached to they're attached to the torso. So today, because I definitely don't want to lose these because this is a much more expensive set than what I paid, and I don't have any extras like I do with the Ninja Turtles Adventures versions. So I'm probably not gonna rotate the arms all the way around on this figure when we talk about the articulation. So but yeah, he looks bad ass. And there is also like a rotation at the where the wraps and the armor meet the forearm. It's a little stiff, but I managed to get it to move. So you can rotate the blades around in whichever way is going to help him kill people easier, I guess. And to compare the legs do look to be identical. It's the same set of legs. So they probably could have done the thing where they swapped them out if they wanted to. But you can see that the loincloth part of the gi is missing from, because it is supposed to be one piece, but he's still got the brown wrap belt. And that, I think, is the same sculpt. It looks like almost the same sculpt to me, at least, but it's painted slightly different. So it is slightly different. And like would make sense, it seems like the sculpt on the torso of Saki and the Shredder are both very similar. And you can see if you look at like the details on his pecs there, you can see that they wrinkle the same way in the middle, like the way that his pec muscles are. So, but like I said, this Shredder is much more smooth, like a regular skin. Like this is back when he was still human, and this is like the worm version of the Shredder. And even though this is supposed to be a gi, it's a very, very tight fitting gi in this version. The Shredder is definitely wearing a spandex shirt, which if you've seen the other the one that was actually based on Eastman and Laird's art from issue #1, they did do that one as more of a loose gi in both versions, both the one where it's torn and the one where it's not. But yeah, and the colors of this is the way that I remember the Shredder being colored in those first trade paperbacks, where it's like with the red suit. This is a little more burgundy than that, though, but that's fine with me. I don't know if they ever did a color version of Return to New York, but I like this design. I think this design looks really cool. To me, this is kind of what I always think of the Shredder as being. And if we compare him to the Ninja Turtles Adventure version, he's a little taller and like I wouldn't say more muscular, because this guy's still like plenty muscular. I think he might actually still be a little bit more muscular, but you can see like he's a little more thick around the middle, and The musculature is a little more on the soft side with more curvy lines because they were going for like that more animated look, and they wanted it to be something that would be appealing to the kids. Whereas this is more like the kind of grim and gritty look that teenagers liked in their comics in the 80s and 90s. So yeah, he's definitely a much more grim and gritty version of the Shredder than this guy. This guy is the, kind of incompetent buffoon you remember from the cartoon, but this guy was a badass motherfucker. Pardon my French. Anyway, so the Shredder can look up about that far, look down about that far, tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side, rotate the head all the way around. This is not a figure that's made for kids to play with at all, by the way. Remember how I was talking when I opened up the Ninja Turtles Adventure Shredder about how like all this stuff is kind of soft and you wouldn't have to worry about kids poking themselves on it too much because the blades are all kind of rubbery and everything. Well, not this dude. These blades are rigid, they are firm, and I would not let a child play with these because he would probably wind up, or she, girls like Ninja Turtles too, they would probably wind up breaking some of these blades off. So I would recommend not letting a child play with this figure. And they are kind of pointy, and the kid might kind of poke themselves on that a little bit. It does seem like the blades on the hands are a little more flexible, and that might be because they just want to make sure you don't break them when you're swapping the hands around or moving them at all. But yeah, the hands on the blades on the forearms and the shins and the shoulders are all really sharp. So these arms should, in theory, rotate all the way around. But like I said, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to take a chance on knocking one of these shoulder plates off, like what happened with the Ninja Turtles Adventure version yesterday. He does have double jointed elbows. That's about the range of motion you get at the elbow. It doesn't really give you full range of motion because his the straps for the armor are a little thick, so it kind of bumps into that a little bit. He does have a bicep swivel, so the bicep rotates all the way around. Forgot to say that, and I think I did point out earlier that it also rotates at the mid forearm, which is a little stiff on mine, but I'm sure it'll loosen up enough over time. And of course, the wrists rotate all the way around. And these wrists have a horizontal hinge, so you can see they move back and forth like so. Same with the left hand. And it looks like all of his hands, if I remember correctly, they all have horizontal hinges on them. Even the gripping hands for the Shredder, which honestly, like with the Adventures version, I kind of feel like the vertical pivot is a little better there just because he's going to need a two-handed grip for that spear. I'm not going to swap out the hands on this video just because, like I said, there's a lot to go over with these videos already. So you're just going to have to imagine him holding the spear. But I will swap out the hands on Saki when I get to him so that we can have him holding the katanas in the thumbnail. But he can lean from side to side like so. Very cool. He can lean back about that far, lean forward about that far. And the torso can rotate where the rib cage meets the abs. It does not seem to have a waist articulation. The waist articulation, the whole waist seems like it's fused together. So, but that's fine. You got the torso articulation. That's good enough, I think. Shredder can kick up about that far. He's got double jointed knees, which are really stiff on this guy. Oh, I don't want to break it, so I'm not going to take a chance on it. We'll try the other one. See what we have better luck with. Yeah, better luck with the right knee. That's about the range of motion you get at the knee. He does have, I think, that little bit of a pivot here. Doesn't rotate all the way around, but rotates enough that you can get some posability out of it. And then it looks like that the foot, not the Foot Clan, but his actual foot rotates all the way around where the foot meets the ankle. Very stiff, though. And the foot points down about that far and points up about that far. And he does have these cool ninja boots with the separate toe. He's got brown boots with brown wraps around the shins and brown wraps around the forearms. And of course, his belt, like I said, is brown wraps. And if we compare him to the adventure version, you can see he had, I didn't mention that before, but he's got the ninja shoes too. So anyway, and the loincloth doesn't seem to get in the way too much. It's very pliable plastic, so that's nice. The Shredder has a booty on him. I'm just going to point that out. So if you're somebody who's into dudes' booties, I'm not judging you. I'm not judging you, but the Shredder might be the figure for you. Also, I should point out that he's not always drawn like this in the comics, but I think he was drawn like this in most of Return to New York, if not all of Return to New York. But oftentimes, they draw the Shredder with his face completely shaded over in the helmet, and he's just got blank white eyes. I pointed out before that Saki had blank white eyes. Usually when they did this with the Shredder, it was just for effect, like with Batman. Like it wasn't supposed to be literally like that, you couldn't see his eyeballs. It was just, for effect, like I said. But since Saki has white eyeballs, I think that this might be a little more literal, at least in the case of the Shredder this time. But great Shredder figure. This might be, I've opened up a few Shredders from NECA, including the Dracula one and the movie version that came with Splinter, and the Adventures one that I opened on the last episode. But I think this might be my favorite one that I've opened. But I haven't opened up the more Eastman and Laird style, the issue number 1 version. So like I said, this one isn't purely their artwork, but I kind of feel like it at least fits in the aesthetic well enough. I thought I had over here the first NECA Raphael figure. And this is as Raphael appeared in the first issue of Ninja Turtles way back in the day. And Raphael's probably the most appropriate one to have since he still has a red mask. But you can see, he even though they're not exactly the same style of artwork, I think this Shredder looks really good with this particular design of Ninja Turtle as well. And this is still my favorite design for the Ninja Turtles. I love the old school, like how they first appeared. And their appearance did evolve over the years. But yeah, this one remains my favorite. But like if you saw the Leonardo figure on the back of this other package, I'm thinking they got a little, the characters aged and they got older, and the boys got a bit bulkier as they went along. And I think that they probably continued to mutate. I don't think that they were ever entirely stable. You know what I mean? Rouge Hansen is here and says, "What are you doing here?" Well, I'm sitting on my couch opening up action figures like I almost always am on YouTube. Unless I'm watching something, which I haven't done in a while. I should probably get back on watching Batman, the animated series, while I'm thinking about it. But yeah, the Shredder is really cool. So let's move on to talking about the other figure in the set, which is Oroku Saki. This is the actual Worms of Madness version here, where you can see, like I said, he's got that. They sculpted the texture in, and Roussan says hello, 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 hello. With the lights out, it's less dangerous. Here we are now. Entertain us. But yeah, it does have that texture. I don't think it's quite coming across as well on the camera as it is in real life, but it looks nice and gross and worm-like. And I am, like I said, I am going to swap out Saki's hands because I want to be able to hold those katanas. And I'm not going to go over the articulation because it's pretty much the same articulation that we already went through with the Shredder. He's just, like I said, the bottom half of this figure is the same. He's got the same legs, but he does not have the same upper torso. Even though the sculpt is similar, they're not identical. So I will talk about his head articulation, since the head is going to be a little different because he's not wearing a helmet. And I do like he's got that samurai type top knot on there. Very cool. And You know, Rouge Haunt keeps saying hello. I don't know who Rouge Haunt is saying hello to at this point. Maybe to me multiple times. I don't know, but always good to see you, of course. So yeah, now we got the gripping hands on there, so we can put those katana blades into his hands, and they seem like they fit in there pretty well. I put that one in there backwards though, and get that one on there. But yeah, he can have his rematch with Leonardo and wind up getting his head chopped off. Does the head come off? It probably comes off. MHD is here and he says hello. That's going around. And then Rouge Haunt says hello. And I guess Rouge Haunt is saying hello to MHD. I'm going to assume that's the case. Yeah, the head probably comes off. But like I said, it's been a little cold in my room lately. So it's being kind of picky. But yeah, I'm sure you can pop the head off if you want to do a more realistic version of his decapitation at the hands of Leonardo. And there's that booty. Like I said, that thing's like a shelf. So so yeah, honestly, if these were two figures that were packed separately, like I might have passed on this guy. And I'm glad I didn't, because he's really cool. I'm glad that they did do it as a 2-pack, and I wound up buying it anyway because he just looks really awesome. So, and like I said, when I first saw it, I thought it was going to be one of those things like with Van Helsing, where they just had like the two torsos of the figure that you swapped out with the same set of legs. But no, they wound up doing a 2-pack, and I think that worked out really well. So anyway, I think that's pretty much it for the Worms of Madness, and I hope you enjoyed this little glimpse into the Worms of Madness. I'm gonna pick up all this stuff and put them in this little baggie that I have. I think this is the one that Dracula Shredder, I think his cape was in that. So I'm just gonna take all these extra hands and put them into this little baggie, and that way I won't lose any of them. And I'll put that back into the box when I put that all together. And that way we can, I'm going to keep the box like I usually do with the NECA figures. And then I can just keep all the hands in there and not have to worry about them getting lost or anyway. But anyway, that's it for the Worms of Madness Shredder. Very cool figure. And like it's a 2-pack. So it's going to be a little bit more on the expensive side, obviously, because you're buying 2 figures instead of just one. MHC says, have a good day, Alan. Well, I hope you have a good day, too. So yeah, it's going to be the price of like 2 figures. But I have seen these at Walmart, and I imagine they'll probably pop up at Target if they haven't already. So definitely worth picking up. Anyway, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the Shredder and Orokusaki and this Worms of Madness 2-pack, and which figure you prefer of the two. Now, I like the more traditional, so I like the regular Shredder. I think he's the best one, but definitely it's cool to have Saki as well. So very cool, very, very awesome representation of one of the all-time greatest Ninja Turtle comic book stories, which if you haven't read, I highly suggest that you do. So the movie had was based on that storyline for a lot of it, and actually they weren't finished with that storyline. They hadn't done Return to New York yet when they made the movie, so they kind of had to make their own conclusion to it, and I think they did a good job. But the comic book, I think, did an even better job, because it's kind of one of those things where it's like, if you think about it, Shredder was really Splinter's villain and Splinter's enemy, and they do wind up defeating him in that first story. But I kind of feel like having Leonardo himself alone defeat the Shredder was kind of like that passing of the torch moment. Because if you read the first issue, you remember they all had to team up together to beat the Shredder. But Leonardo in Return to New York was able to beat the Shredder on his own. So I think that's where he really came into his own as a ninja. So that was really cool. But anyway, make sure you like and subscribe. YouTube likes it when I say like and subscribe. So I always like to say like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about these figures. And let me know what you think about the Return to New York storyline also. And if you, whether or not you've read that. And if you haven't, like I said, you definitely should. It's awesome. So anyway, that's it for this episode. We will be back next time with another Ninja Turtle thing that I've been meaning to open forever, which is Casey Jones with his dirt bike. So that'll be the next episode, but I'm not sure exactly when that's going to be yet because I got some stuff going on this week. So I don't want to get into all that, but yeah, that'll be next. And then I'm probably going to open up some Masters of the Universe stuff because I got some more Masters of the Universe stuff to open and a whole lot more G.I. Joe. We got a lot more G.I. Joe on the way. I got more G.I. Joe being shipped to me from Big Bad Toy Store at this exact moment because I've got the Desert Scorpion, I think is what that character is called. I got him on the way. But that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time.